Hello, everyone. Back with part 19 of my recent watches series. So it's been 10 days since the last episode. Three, six, eight. So I've watched 11 in that time. So more than one a day. Been off work on holiday. Been busy doing a few things. But yeah, last few days I've managed to watch 2 films a day. Was planning on just, getting up at 9 and just watching films all day until bedtime, but so I could get like say 5 or 6 done in a day. But yeah, I've just had other things to do, and yeah, I found it sounds weird sitting down and doing nothing, but concentrating on the films after sort of 2 films in an afternoon, I get a bit tired. I guess a bit like Christmas when you've had your roast dinner and you're watching probably Wizard of Oz on every single Christmas and you fall asleep halfway through. Guess you get too comfortable. So yeah, I was gonna basically wait until at the weekend. I think I go back to work for my holiday on Tuesday. So by the time I go back, I've had like 10 days off. So yeah, I was going to wait, record this on, say, the Monday or so once I had a few more watched. But I thought, well, even when I've got like 8 to watch, or 8 to talk about that I have watched, should I say, I managed to waffle on for like 40 minutes. So I thought, try and be kind to the viewing public and don't have so many films to talk about. So yeah, basically I'll do this now and then I don't know how long it'll take till I'm back with another part, but I plan on watching quite a few this weekend. So yeah, maybe not till later on in the week. But yeah, rather than save them up, hit you with like 16 of these in one go, I thought, yeah, better to do it now. So I've got enough watched. I don't know if this is a record for Nah, it won't be a record for 10 days. Anyway, I've waffled on enough, as I say. I'll get on with it. That's already 2 minutes. I could have been talking about the films. So the first one I watched 10 days ago, I guess. Phenomena, Dario Argento with Jennifer Connelly. So I had watched this before, but I'm talking like, yeah, probably 20 years ago. 18, 20 years ago, I got this on DVD. Remembered enjoying it, but couldn't remember too much about it. I don't think back when I watched it, I even realised it was an Argento film. DVD copy I had wasn't great. I don't think it had too much like information on it. But yeah, obviously, a few years later, when I first watched Suspiria, Deep Red, aka Profondo Rosso, and Tenebrae, I think are the only other ones I've seen by him. Once I started watching those and got to know the name of Dario Argento, realised this was by him. But yeah, never went back and watched the DVD copy of it in all that time. So yeah, it's almost a first watch really. Amazing score as you'd expect from an Argento film. Can I see who does the score on it? I guess these Arrow ones don't usually give you too much information. I don't think it's Goblin who usually do. I mean, the soundtrack to Suspiria by Goblin, amazing. I don't think it's by them. Sounds like it. Very good though. There's a really good rock song in it as well. Saying this is the 116-minute Italian cut, features approximately 6 minutes of footage for which English audio does not exist. So in these instances, the hybrid track reverts to Italian audio with English subtitles. Yeah, I did notice that a few times and thought it was just where they were speaking in Italian, or maybe some of the actors didn't know English very well. I think you can watch it. Usually I do watch films in the foreign language with subtitles. Might have to go back and watch it again to see if you watch the it says here language Italian or English. If you watch the Italian version, have they got Jennifer Connelly and Donald Pleasance speaking in Italian? Not saying they couldn't do it, but I'd rather hear them speaking in their mother tongue, so to speak. Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's got to be young in this. I mean, it was 1985, probably not too long after Labyrinth. So I'm guessing, yeah, she's probably like 15 or so in this, but really good acting. Probably the best I've seen from her in terms of emotion and stuff. A very weird film, kind of I wouldn't say all over the place, but it's got a lot of plot points going on at once. Donald Pleasance, brilliant, as you'd expect. Big fan of Donald Pleasance. Everything I see him in, he's amazing. Always embodies the character really well. Shall I won't read the synopsis. I'm guessing most people know of this one. Yeah, it's some quite brutal scenes. I did hear a rumour that during the filming of this, there's scenes where Donald Pleasance has got a monkey, like a chimp, and the monkey does hand like a knife over. I did hear that while filming, the monkey got hold of the razor and sliced off one of Jennifer Connelly's fingers. Yeah, let me know if that's true. That's some trivia I've heard. I'm not sure if that's just a rumour or not, but yeah, apparently she was in quite a dangerous position on the set a lot of the time. I guess Dario's a bit of an auteur. He's probably like, right, you're going to have to sit next to this monkey. He's a bit wild, but let's hope it doesn't attack you, even though you're a child underage kind of thing. I don't really know the whole backstory to this. I'll have to go back and watch the special, what are they called? Extras, basically. There's a lot of them on here. Yeah, it's an 18, contains strong violence and horror. Yeah, I won't read all about it, but basically Jennifer Connelly's been transferred to a school in Switzerland, what they call the Swiss Transylvania, and then there's a serial killer. Then there's also an element of Donald Pleasance is an entomologist, and she likes insects, and then she can grab these insects that won't bite or sting her, and then when Donald Pleasance is shocked, she tells him she can talk to the insects and always has done. Yeah, when I tell my mate about it, he's like, well, it sounds like there's too much going on. I wouldn't say there's too much, but yeah, there's a lot of plot lines all kind of running at once, but it does all come together. Got a satisfied ending. Won't say too much when you find out who the killer is. It's quite a good reveal. Like I say, yeah, probably the best acting I've seen from Jennifer Connelly, other than Labyrinth, this, and Requiem for a Dream. I don't think I've seen too much else of her in. Maybe seen films in the past I just can't really remember she was in, but yeah, let me know some more Jennifer Connelly films worth watching, because she is a really good actress, and obviously being young when I absolutely love Labyrinth, she's always been like a sort of got nostalgia for me watching films of her in. Yeah, I'd give that an 8 out of 10. Other than Suspiria, probably the best film I've seen by Dario Argento. I have to go back and watch Deep Red and Tenebrae again, because I can't remember them too much. I think they are kind of giallo films. I think they were good, but yeah, the atmosphere, the location in like the Swiss Transylvanian boarding school, lot of plots, it's not boring, there's a lot going on, good acting around the board, great music, yeah, really good film. Yeah, I'd give that an 8 out of 10. Next, I'm probably going to say this is my favourite, I'd say modern, like I've said in the previous video, anything after the year 2000 I kind of class as modern, but this is, again, I don't think I can find it here. Let me just show it to you, because rather than building up all the anticipation, which probably isn't that exciting, and I'm sure everybody knows Dread. So yeah, I think you can watch the 3D version. I chose the 2D version, so I don't have 3D glasses. I find usually films in 3D don't look great. When I did try and watch a film once with 3D glasses, it just gave me a headache after 10 minutes. Maybe it works in a cinema, but not on, like, I guess the glasses were probably made for an old, like, what do you call it? The old TVs with, like, the big back on. Can't think of the word, but obviously now with all these, like, 4K smart TVs, yeah, I guess it's probably not really made to work on that kind of screen. It's 95 minutes, 18, contains frequent, strong, bloody violence and gore. Yeah, as far as action films go, this has got some of the most intense scenes of any action film. Yeah, for me, this is better than the John Wick films, better than the Taken films. Don't know if you call the Mission Impossible films action. I guess I'd say kind of more spy, espionage, kind of James Bond style. But yeah, I prefer this. Yeah, I think this is up there. One of the best action films I've seen in years. I'm talking since like Predator, Terminator 2, things like that for me. Yeah, I really enjoy this. Much prefer it to Stallone's version. Stallone's version's a bit more campy, comic book, cartoony. Try to be comic, as in comedy. I'm not really that up on the history of. I can't remember what company does the comic to Judge Dredd. It's not. Is it like 2000 AD comics? I think. But from what I've seen of it, their stuff is really dark. It's like not for children. In the pictures, it show like someone's face smashed into the ground with blood everywhere. Very dark stuff. Whereas Stallone's Judge Dredd went a way more cartoony, comic booky, which with the Avengers or something you get away with that, because I think that's the way the comic's writ. Not just necessarily writ for children, but in a light-hearted way. Whereas, yeah, not only they went too campy, cheesy, and I think Stallone's version is actually called Judge Dredd, but I think the main thing that upset fans, obviously I'm not too up on the history of Judge Dredd the comic, so I didn't really get too upset, but most of the feedback seems to be that in the lore of the judges, it's like they would never take their helmet off. That's like the main thing. I think they keep it on for like pride and stuff, right? Really, not like say RoboCop where he has it on because he's like got half his brain missing and he's a cyborg policeman underneath. It's more, yeah, they just don't take their helmet off. So I think Sly's ego got the better of him where he signs up for the film and then is like, yeah, I'll be in the film. I know the fans are expecting the helmet on 90% of the time, but how will they know it's me if I don't have it on? So yeah, I don't really know. Maybe Stallone produced it and said this is the caveat, is I have the helmet off. But yeah, it seems a bit weird the studio went ahead with that because yeah, like I said, I don't know too much about it. From what I've heard, people that have been fans of Judge Dredd for a long time, the comics and things. I think there was computer games of it years ago. They sort of said that was like the ultimate faux pas, was to have Stallone with his helmet off the whole thing. But yeah, this way better. I don't hate the Stallone one. It's a fun film. This way better in every way. Much darker. Carl Urban got the chin and the jawline, I would say, to play this, because all you really see, if you can see there, his helmet on, is his sort of jaw. Stallone had the jaw to play it, but wanted to show his whole face. Really good story, good acting, good characters, really brutal, some gore, people's eyes being poked out and stuff. Bit that kind of resonates with me. Like I remember the most from, must have watched this about, I don't know, let's say 6 years or more, the previous viewing to this. And the main thing I remember about it is, I think the drug's called Crank. Might be getting that mixed up with another film. But it's like a asthma inhaler filled with this liquid. I don't think it's a vape. I think they just breathe the fumes in, a bit like how you inhale inhaler. And it slows down time. I think they say to 1/100th of normal time. So what the bit that really I kind of found really played on my mind is they basically slow the time down and then drop people off of this like 1,000-foot building. It's all shot in this apartment called Peach Trees. And the apartment gets locked down with the judges in. Yeah, I really like apartment building kind of films. As I've said before, I've done a video naming some of them, but I didn't have Dredd at the time. I think Roy Barrett commented saying Dredd is set in an apartment. Yeah, so they drop them off of this apartment building from like 1,000 or more feet, and they're going in slow motion. So when they're falling, obviously it takes 3 seconds to fall. It feels like they're falling for like 300 seconds, I guess. And then when they hit the floor, rather than, I guess, if you usually fall and land on your head, it's kind of instant death. Whereas because it's going so slow to the way they feel, you know, they feel their like skin break and then the skull and then their brain, and they feel it all in slow motion. So yeah, that bit kind of not only original, but yeah, out of all the films I've seen, even like gory horrors and that kind of, I could empathise the most and be like, yeah, that would be a horrible way to die, falling in slow motion for ages. I think, in fact, once they've slowed down time, then they skin them alive before they throw them. So yeah, it's just a horrible, torturous gang. What's the lady in it called? Lena Headey? I'm going to call her Headey. Lena Headey. She plays like the main villain in it. I think she's called Mama. Doesn't tell me on the... Oh yeah, Mama. She's a very evil, ruthless villain, really plays the part well. Her gang of the Mamas, all horrible, despicable people, literally willing to like skin and kill a woman over nothing. Basically live in this like mega city. Bit like Gotham, or is it New York in Escape from New York, where basically the whole place gets locked down into like a crime zone. Judges, basically, if these people are suspected of murder or they try and harm a judge, then you can just execute them on the spot. You don't even need to take them in. Yeah, Carl Urban, really tough, really does well in the action scenes. But yeah, for me, I'm not big on modern action films. There could be ones I've missed that are brilliant, but yeah, best one I've seen in like the last 20 years. Can't think of any better. Yeah, as much as I do enjoy the first John Wick, they get a bit worse as they go on for me. This better. Might be a bit intense for some people. It is very gory, very violent, some quite haunting imagery. But yeah, I really enjoy that one. Who's the lady that... I guess it's Olivia Thirlby. It's kind of like a amateur cop. Well, an amateur judge. And they're like, right, you take her into this building, drop her in the deep end, see if she can survive it. And yeah, she's up against a nasty scenario. Kind of your worst first day of work you can imagine. Yeah, they chuck her right in the deep end and she doesn't drown, is all I'm going to say. But yeah, really good, brilliant. Not seen Carl Urban in too much else other than like the Hobbit film and stuff, but yeah, really good in that. Yeah, give that I don't know if I can give it a 9. Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10, not just for my enjoyment, but yeah, as far as action films go, I think it hits every single spot, from set pieces to memorable characters, evil villains, high stakes, no holds barred, anyone can be killed in it. Yeah, I really enjoy Judge, or just Dredd, should I call it. Next one, I know Jodie from Jodie's Movie Realm and Marcus from X-File 2708 are big fans of this one. We spoke about it on the live stream, but I've watched it once a year. I'm talking again about 20 years ago. Not only really couldn't get into it, but I found it a bit slow and boring. It's the Amityville Horror. But on a rewatch of it, it's gone up in my estimations. I'm not going to say I absolutely love it. It's not a favourite. But from where I used to find it a bit boring and would I give it 5 out of 10, yeah, it's gone up a lot. I'll give a score at the end of it. James Brolin, Margot, Rod Steiger, for God's sake, Get Out. Directed by Stuart Rosenberg. Can't have heard of too much else by him, but let me know if he's done other things. It's a 15. It's from 1979. Can I find a running time? 119 minutes. Yeah, basically 2 hours. I'll have to go back and watch the remake again with Ryan Reynolds, is it? Because yeah, I used to quite enjoy that one, whereas I probably would have said before I preferred the remake, I guess from like 2004 or something. I can't be bothered to get out and check, obviously it'll be going on too long as usual. Yeah, probably used to prefer that, find it a bit more fun and entertaining, whereas having rewatched this, yeah, I think this is the better made film, really good atmosphere, genuinely creepy, slow build up. Yeah, I would say I did still find it slow, but it kind of works to the advantage of the film. If it's like a ghost house kind of film, you know, you don't want ghosts flying out the walls in the first 5 minutes and blowing the load, so to speak. Got it on this nice second sight Blu-ray version. So yeah, almost the first time watch really. It was a rewatch, but couldn't remember much about it from before. James Brolin, really good. I guess it's not a spoiler to say, once he starts sort of turning evil and a bit insane, really plays a character, you can really believe it. The scene with, I think it's called Jodie. Not the Jodie we know, but like a special imaginary friend the girl has. I won't really say too much, or I've already seen the Amityville, but is a kind of a ghost, and you see her like red eyes, like looking through the window. Yeah, quite creepy. House really looks the part. It's based on a so-called true story. I don't believe it was a true story, but Roddy DeFeo, I think he was called, really did shoot all of his family in cold blood, and then said demons told him to do it. But I think the pathology report said they found like drugs or hallucinogens, like acid or something in his system. So he probably took a load of that, was hearing voices, thought an evil ghost called Jodie told him to do it, and but yeah, obviously they try and pass it off as like a true story. So unlike Poltergeist and The Omen and other sort of classic ghost story, possession, you know, supernatural, let's say, films, this has it's a bit more grounded. So yeah, you know, these events really did happen. They moved into the house after some guy had killed his whole family. I think he shot them with a shotgun while they were sleeping, but part of the argument was, if he shot like the mum and dad first, how did the younger brothers and sisters not hear it and wake up? Maybe give them some sleeping tablets. I don't know the backstory, but yeah, personally I don't really believe in ghosts, so I don't think this really happened. But the Lutzes, who moved in after the DeFeos, tried to sell it as a haunted house, wrote books about it, made loads of money off it as far as I know. But yeah, enjoyable one. Still, yeah, not one of my favourites. I could say it's a classic. It's well made. Does what it sort of says on the tin, like Ron Seal. But yeah, I'd give that a 7. What did I give Phenomena? I gave Phenomena an 8. Yeah, I'd give that a 7.5. Seems a bit harsh to give it less. Well made, but it's not really my thing. Did find it a little bit slow, but I can see why it's got its fans, and I can see why Marcus and Jodie enjoy it. Yeah, I guess I'll have to go back again and watch the remake. Might watch the remake again and be like, oh, it's a bit more entertaining, but it's not that well made a film. Whereas, yeah, that is a well made film. Just doesn't have too much going on for me. Yeah, I'd probably rather watch Poltergeist than that one, to be fair. But 7.5 isn't a bad score. First DVD of the week. After watching, well, you got an action and a horror. Phenomena, I guess, is more of a fantasy horror. Thought I'd have something a bit more light-hearted. So one I hadn't watched in years is Evolution. Ivan Reitman film. Probably know better from Ghostbusters. Did he do Castaway, Forrest Gump, I think? I think he's done a lot of films with Tom Hanks. Yeah, I had seen this one years ago, this DVD copy. Probably like 9 years ago I last watched it. But I kept seeing it in CEX, the 88 Films version, with the slipcover for like £10 second hand. So I started thinking, oh, it must be out of print, or it must be, hard to get. And then when I seen it in HMV, actually I don't think it had the slipcover in CEX, but they were charging 10. But the 88 Films version in HMV still with the slipcover, I think it was 15. So it got me thinking, it's quite expensive. Might be one I consider picking up, but maybe I'll give it a review in on DVD, see how I think of it before I sort of take the plunge into upgrading it. Yeah, it's a fun film. It's a bit silly, but kind of what you'd expect. It's got David Duchovny, kind of almost playing Fox Mulder like he does in the X-Files. Orlando Jones, probably the best character in it. He's got some really funny moments. Sean William Scott, kind of silly and not annoying, but immature kind of comedy like you'd expect. As it says here, he's in Road Trip and American Pie. Julianne Moore, one of the better films I've seen her in. She's from Hannibal, Magnolia, The End of the Affair. But yeah, she looks nice in this, and yeah, plays quite a nuanced character, whereas David Duchovny and Sean William Scott's characters are quite on the nose. Orlando Jones is better. Won't say too much. I think you could see him there. He's on the hospital bed about to have an anal probe. It's quite a funny scene. CG don't look great on all the creatures, but it is 2001. So yeah, like 24 years old. So it hasn't dated that bad. Most of the creatures, like the ones that attack them and that, are quite good. But this weird little, I don't know if you could see him there, green lizard frog amphibian monster that they sort of have as a pet, I guess. Yeah, it don't look great, but I've seen worse aged CGI than this, so it still stands up quite well. Yeah, other than Hannibal, probably the best thing I've seen, not the best thing, but the best role I've seen by Julianne Moore. I think she's always been an underrated actress, to be fair. I guess after taking over the part from Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, hard act to follow. She does well. That's her interpretation of Clarice Starling, but yeah, Jodie Foster, for me, one of the best female actresses ever. Hard shoes to step into. Yeah, let me know if I'm having a blank on Ivan Reitman. Did he do the Back to the Future films? So I've got him here. Let's have a quick look. Again, it don't seem to tell. No, Robert Zemeckis. Oh, sorry, yeah. So Robert Zemeckis does Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So yeah, I'm guessing Ivan Reitman does the Ghostbusters 1 and 2. R.I.P. I think his son's a director now. Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Castaway, Forrest Gump, was that Robert Zemeckis? Let me know in the comments. I'm having a mental block, but Ghostbusters 1, one of my favourite films. So yeah, fan of Ivan Reitman. Yeah, a bit silly, kind of alien, sci-fi, family film, nothing too offensive. A few of the jokes a bit like, it says here, general viewing, but some scenes may be unsuitable for young children. Yeah, a few of the jokes are a bit, probably go over the kids' heads, but a bit rude. The parents might sort of laugh at it. Yeah, it's not really gore or anything, but a few sort of creepy. I'd say it's kind of like Men in Black, but probably funnier. I'm not a massive fan of Will Smith, but Tommy Lee Jones is really good in Men in Black. Yeah, CGI and effects probably aren't quite as good as Men in Black, but yeah, if you wanted a film to compare it to, I'd say think of the humour of Ghostbusters Part 1 with the sort of ethos of Men in Black. It's probably what you're getting with Evolution. Yeah, I'd give that a 7. Entertaining film, well made. Yeah, a bit of a breath of fresh air after watching some of those. I say Dread's not exactly dark, but as far as action films go, it's pretty intense. So yeah, wanted a bit of a light-hearted comedy. This one is a first-time watch. If you watched not my last pickups video, but the one before, you might have seen me get hold of this one. Neither the Sea Nor the Sand, by 88 Films on Tygon. Susan Hampshire and Frank Finlay, directed by Fred Burnley. Yeah, kind of thought, oh yeah, I've switched the... If I'd seen that cover art, it probably wouldn't have grabbed me. It looks a bit like a sort of 70s romantic film. Whereas that one, not only nice colours, I like the lighthouse, it's all kind of sea aqua colour. But yeah, once you see his kind of black eyes, his zombie face, you kind of know it's a bit more of a horror. Yeah, I was quite impressed with this one. Like I say, first time watch. It's quite slow. Acting's good. The music's really good. Really surreal. Nice atmosphere. Good location. Yeah, it's quite slow. It's not too much horror. If you're not a massive fan of horror and you're thinking of watching this, then yeah, some horror elements, but they're done in a bit more of like, I wouldn't say a fantasy way, but yeah, it's not really got intense gore or anything. I don't know how big the budget was, but it feels like it. They made the most out of it. So I'm guessing it's probably not, a huge budget Terminator 2 kind of production. But yeah, I'd never even heard of this one before. Trying to think of a film sort of compare it to. No, it's quite original. I don't think you can really compare it. Yeah, it's kind of got romantic elements. I don't think it really had much comedy. Even sometimes horrors and that'll have a bit that make you laugh. Yeah, this lady really good in it. I guess it's Susan Hampshire. And then Frank Finlay, I guess, sort of plays two different roles almost, where he starts as this guy you can see on the back, and then, without saying too much of what happens, something happens. Well, I think it does say on the back actually that he dies and then he kind of comes back, not as a zombie. You'd have to watch it. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, good location, good atmosphere. It's quite slow. I never found it boring, but I think some people might. It's kind of one, if you're going to watch it late at night, you might fall asleep to it. Just because it doesn't, sometimes I'll be drifting off to a certain film and then a jump scare happens or a massive bang. It'd be hard to fall asleep to, say, a Michael Bay film as he's trying to wake you up. But yeah, quite a soporific kind of film. Quite slow, quite meditative. But yeah, I like the style of it. I liked it kind of being slow and building up its atmosphere. It had good character development. Yeah, I was quite impressed with this. Neither the sea nor the sand. Never heard of it before. Bought it and thought, it could be either a real drab affair or kind of badly made, low budget British schlock. But no, it's actually quite classy, quite enjoyable. Yeah, if you're into these, it's almost a giallo kind of feel to it. Even though it's British, it does have an Italian kind of style. But yeah, I'd say give it a go. Find out for yourself. Other people might not find it as entertaining as I did. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's the best film ever, but as far as, as some you probably haven't seen but you've heard of, some sort of classic horror mystery, I'm classing it as, from the late 70s, maybe The Omen, The Exorcist, you might get around to and be like, how the hell did I not watch this for all that time? Whereas, yeah, as far, there's films I've heard of that I just hadn't got round to, and when I have, I've seen what the hype is about. Whereas, yeah, with this, crazy, I'd never really heard of it. I'm not saying I'm a horror expert, but I'd heard of a lot of underground horror, especially British ones. I think it sort of takes place on the Isle of Wight. Don't know if it's filmed there or what. Yeah, let me know in the comments if everyone else has seen this, because not many people seem to know about it. Even the guy in HMV, not heard of it when I bought it. But yeah, would recommend. Yeah, I'd give that a 7.5. Quite a slow burn, not going to be for everybody, but I enjoyed it. Right, on to something a bit more serious and powerful. It's the 4K of Scum. So again, if you've seen, I think it was my last pickups video, haul video, whatever I called it, I showed on there that I picked up, I put it the wrong way around, that I picked up Scum. Spoke a little bit about it, but didn't want to give it a full-on review and things on there. So I'll speak about it a bit more now. Yeah, it still stands up, quite intense. Most of it's got, a lot of violence, and it's just really gritty, nasty. Well, not nasty. I don't think it's gratuitous. It's kind of showing Borstal as it really would be. So yeah, I guess if you went to these like young offenders institutions, when was it? 79. So yeah, if you went there in late 70s, early 80s, it was a really tough environment, and kind of rightly so. These people are there to be punished, not to have fun. But yeah, the screws in it, all horrible, drab and dreary. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best film to look at in terms of it's all like horrible prison corridors, but the 4K makes it look a lot better. But yeah, it's no Avatar with like bright, beautiful colours and things. It is a very gritty location it's filmed in. So although the 4K looks better than, I think the last time I seen it was either on TV or DVD, it's an upgrade from that. But yeah, it's not the kind of film, with brilliant cinematography where you're going to be breathtaken by the 4K, but it just makes it look more gritty and nasty. And when bloody scenes happen and stuff, it's more intense. Alan Clark film. Not sure I know too many other. Did he do what's it called? Midnight Express, or is that Alan? It's another Alan. I always get muddled up with Alan Clark. Obviously, Alan Clark's a British filmmaker. But yeah, still stands up, still powerful, still quite disturbing. Everybody probably knows, I mentioned it before, but the greenhouse scene, very notorious. I thought I'd wear this leafy t-shirt in ode to the greenhouse scene. yeah, better than I remembered it. I've always thought it was a well-made film, but I kind of guess when I was younger, I got caught up a bit in the violence and the story and the stuff going on, rather than is it a good film technically? Is it well made? And yeah, it is. I put this in the top 5 British films I've ever seen. So powerful, so hard hitting, hold no bars. Like I said, again, didn't mean to do that pun, but no pun intended. Pulls no punches. Really shows it as it probably is. Maybe they make it a bit worse than Borstal Young Offenders would have been, but from stories I've heard from like my uncle or someone, knew a kid that went there, and said it was just an absolute nightmare there. Yeah, I think it's quite realistic to what it would have really been like. It does say Alan Clark also did Elephant and The Firm. I think I've heard of The Firm. Not sure of The Elephant. I've got a film called Elephant, but that's by Gus Van Sant about the Columbine shooting, I think. Yeah, I won't bang on about it too much. I already spoke about it, and everybody probably knows about Scum. If you haven't seen it, get and watch it. You will be impressed. It's really well made. One of the best British films. Brilliant acting across the board. What's his name? Phil Daniels. A horrible little shit in this. So many good quotes. Like, you've got your tour, I'm the daddy. One thing I didn't realise in the late 70s how much they said slag. So I'll go up to him and he'd be like, "Oh, you're not the top boy, you slag," and they just call each other slags. I found that a bit funny. Yeah, not really much music in it, but it wouldn't really work in prison. So, you know, in most films, even Shawshank, where they're in the prison, you'll have like lovely soundtrack, one of the best soundtracks ever in Shawshank playing in the background. Whereas this, can't remember that being any music. But yeah, entertaining. It's not even really slow. It's always got stuff going on. Probably will not depress you, not on the level of Dancer in the Dark, but it will not just make you think. Yeah, it's a tough, kind of harrowing film, I would say. Yeah, looked and sounded good on 4K. That's all I'm going to say about Scum. I'll give that a 9. Yeah, an absolute British classic for me. It's good having that review in. Probably 10, 15 years or so since I previously seen it, but a film you will never forget once you've seen it, or at least some of the bits. I know Sammy G from Sammy G's World of Cinema has recently picked it up, so it'd be interesting to know how Sammy gets on with it. I know Sammy's a big film of British cinema, but also, yeah, if you haven't ever seen it, and I think there is a few scenes, but the one main scene, the greenhouse, is probably going to shock you. Thought it's something a bit more fun after the oppression, what's the word? The atmosphere and sort of I wouldn't say it's nasty. Realistic brutality, I guess is the correct word, of Scum. Yeah, I thought I wanted something a bit more fun, so I went with Shrunken Heads. So yeah, only recently, I think I got this in Birmingham when we was on the Loons meetup. Only has recently come out on Region 2. I don't think before you could even get like it on DVD. But yeah, obviously 101 Films released this Blu-ray. Watched this years ago around a friend's sleepover, and we all found it funny, found it a bit silly, but it was entertaining. Watched it again about 6 years ago on the Kodi, legal Kodi box. Sorry, police, if you're watching, but I don't care. Yeah, when I watched it then, I found it entertaining, but didn't think it was that great. Whereas, yeah, on this reviewing, it's really well done. It's funny. Special effects look pretty good. It's a bit hokey and silly, you know. At the end of the day, not really a spoiler to say. Group of 3 kids. It starts out a bit like the Goonies, where they're, you know, going around the neighborhood having fun, going in the comic book store. One of them like eats all these like jelly beans. They've got quite good characters. Yeah, sort of sets it up along those lines, and then not really a spoiler to say, these 3 kids get killed, and quite brutal. These gang of people just like shoot them with shotguns in the street, and you like see it all. And these are like meant to be 14-year-old kids, I'm guessing, and they get gunned down. Quite shocking. But then there's this guy, see if I can find his name. Julius Harris plays Mr. Sumatra, who's like a voodoo priest. And once these kids have been killed, he basically goes to the funeral home, cuts their heads off, puts them in his like pot, does a voodoo Haiti ritual. I think he says he's from the what were they called? The Tonton Macoute, which I think are like voodoo priests from Haiti. If you've seen, what's it called? Wes Craven film, Serpent and the Rainbow, kind of similar to that, but a lot more fun and less serious. But yeah, he basically cuts off their heads when they're dead, puts them in a pot with some ingredients, maybe some chicken's blood, and then turns them into shrunken heads. Sure, everybody's heard of shrunken heads from like voodoo, Haiti, I guess you say it, rituals, and then he trains the heads how to think telepathically, how to fly, gives them special powers. One holds a knife, one bites people, one shoots electric out of his eyes, and then they go and take revenge on the people that did it. But yeah, as far as these full moon films go, Puppet Master, Demonic Toys, there's loads of them, and most of them are, even the ones I find entertaining, are usually pretty schlocky, silly. Whereas I say this is the best made out of all those Charles Band produced films, directed by Richard Elfman, the brother of Danny Elfman. So not only he directs it well, but then they've got Danny Elfman doing the mute soundtrack. So what year was this? I'm guessing early 90s. Can't actually find the years. I can't usually, but yeah, a bit of a coup, I guess, to be like, I'm directing a film, probably his first film. But my brother happens to be an amazing composer, so I'm getting him probably for free to do. So yeah, the music on this is kind of a bit better than it should be for this kind of film. I'm guessing this was probably after Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, probably kind of fame. Then he went on to do this. The comedy lands. It's got some quite good gore, some quite shocking moments. The villains, real horrible gits. Tell me the names of them. AJ D'Amato, one of the main villains. Not only are they horrible, but they're literally like, they've got to be in their 20s, 30s, and they're hanging around with these. I mean, these kids turn into shrunken heads are like 14, I guess. And these kids are picking on them, beating them up, literally like threatening to kill them. It's like, come on, these guys are like in their 20s, if not their 30s. How are they getting away with just terrorizing the neighborhood? They're in like a mafia kind of thing. The girl in it, I think she's played by Becky Herbst. Really good character, but in it she's meant to be like 14, 15, and the main villain's got to be like 30, and he's going out with her and stuff. It's a bit creepy. Yeah, the villains genuinely are horrible, really played a role well, but written well, to the point that you really do hate them. You're willing these guys to get their comeuppance upon them. Standout thing for me in this, not just in terms of best part, but also like, what the hell is Meg Foster as a crime boss? So I think she's like meant to be like a lesbian crime boss. She kind of looks a bit like a guy with like short hair and a little Italian mafia hat on and things. But not only she play it well, she does a really good kind of Brooklyn accent. Just what a weird role. They must be casting and be like, right, we're looking whether they cast it as a male mob boss and she turned up and they're like, such a good take on it, we're going to cast her, or they were like, no, we want a female. When the first time I watched it, I thought she was actually meant to be a male mob boss, but he had a lady playing it, which is a bit more outlandish. But on rewatch, she is meant to be a lady, and she is, she's got like a girlfriend in it, so I guess she's like a lesbian mob boss. But yeah, Meg Foster, brilliant. What's the film I watched? The Wind with her a while ago, and in that she does a lot of impressions, and I was like, yeah, she's got some voice talent, so not surprising she does so well in this role. She kind of looks apart, plays it well, but also she is just really cruel, really mean, basically puts her head out for these kids to be murdered. I think I've spoke about Shrunken Heads enough, but yeah, it kind of looks like it's going to be a really bad, silly film, and it kind of is silly, but it's better made than 90% of these kind of B-movies, especially from Full Moon, Charles Band Productions. Don't know if Richard Elfman did much else, but yeah, some good acting, really good theme music, quite brutal, goes there, some good comedy. Yeah, just, if you're into a really silly kind of hokey film, which is actually quite well made, then I would recommend Shrunken Heads. Yeah, I'd give that a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's no Citizen Kane, but it's, as far as those sort of group of films go, you've got some horrors like The Omen, The Exorcist, even the Conjuring films that are known as being well made, whereas a lot of those kind of B-movie horrors by Charles Band get lumped into like silly crap, whereas no, that I think is actually quite a good film on its own merit. This one I got off the internet. I heard it was notorious, and yet it really lived up to the expectations. Was Trouble Every Day, a film by Claire Denis. He usually does films like Chocolat and Beau Travail, which I think they're not that shocking, so it's quite surprising. So yeah, when I heard about this, so many of these like extreme kind of films are not very well made. A lot of these are like low budget. Some out there that Sallow, for instance, is notorious, but I just found it boring. Then you've got some like Grotescu, Japanese film, which just has nothing going on other than like the gore and the torture, no story and anything. And yeah, a lot of these notorious ones, it's just all about the gore. They don't care about a backstory, they don't care about framing it well. Basically, don't care about filmmaking. It's just about how you can shock, a bit like Hostel, which I'm not a fan of the Hostel films, but no, this is actually well made. Really good music, brilliant cinematography, really arty. Some really beautiful scenes that miss the cruelty. Won't really say what happens too much, but all I'll say is when there's sexual scenes going on, it gets quite rough, and then cannibalism takes place. I won't really say more than that. But yeah, there are some scenes shock me. I'm quite jaded. Not a lot shocks me nowadays. Kind of seen a lot of nasty stuff, but yeah, this and a couple of scenes weren't just shocking in the imagery. I've seen worse, but the way it was showed and the way the music's in the background, and it's well shot. Whereas yeah, if you see like, you know, a B movie with some nasty gore, but it's kind of done in a tacky way, then not really going to hit home. But when something's well made to, you know, the level of like the Shawshank Redemption, then the gore and stuff gets to you more. So yeah, there's only a couple of scenes of like the really nasty stuff, but really does hit home. But yeah, better made than I thought it would be. Quite slow, but still entertaining. I think there's a fine line between being slow and being boring. There's some films like Blade Runner, I know people find slow, but I can just take it in all day and just really lap it up and don't find it boring. But yeah, quite slow in parts, but builds up a story. You care about the characters. I did say Beatrice Dahl, I think it's pronounced, was really good as a villain in Inside. Couldn't imagine her being any better, but she is perhaps better as this kind of villain in this. Yeah, I guess they're not villains as such. It's more nuance. There's a lot more going on. I can't really get into the story, but it does feel French. Like I say, arty. Obviously, it's got French language, but it does have some English-speaking parts. But yeah, it's notorious for a reason. Some of those, you know, that are quite old, must be what, 2001, like 24 years old. When you go to watch them nowadays, they don't always stand up in terms of the shock factor, whereas no, it still did. Yeah, I'd give that an 8 out of 10. Well-made film, and yeah, it does go there. It's not a disappointment when it comes to shocking, but it's not only about that. It's kind of a good story with a few scenes of like nastiness going on. Right, this is going on longer than I hoped. I was going to talk about what my mate said about Blade Runner, but I'm not going to have time to do that. I was hoping this video would be done in under 45, so I'll try. But next you've got Stallone in Cobra. Just noticed a bit of a crease on the box there. Probably can't pick it up, but a bit annoying. 4K, looks really good on 4K. First time I watched it in a long time. Yeah, it is a bit cheesy. Some of the like quotes and lines are, I wouldn't say silly, but they're what you'd expect from an 80s action film, so 1986. So yeah, some of his one-liners probably aren't as like, I wouldn't say cheesy as Arnie's in Predator, because they do land. But you know, you can tell they're just trying to get the one-liners in, whether it works or not in the context. Cobra really looks, well, should I say Stallone playing Cobra really looks the part in his like all black with his matchstick and his gun. The villain's really good. Sort of gang they're fighting. Quite gory, quite brutal. Only 87 minutes. 18 contains strong language and violence. Directed by George P. Cosmatos, I guess it said. Sounds Greek. Don't know too much about him, but I think I have heard of him doing other films. So again, let me know if you know down below in the comments any other films by George P. Cosmatos. I'll check it, other things out by him. Yeah, it's got Bridget Nielsen in, really good. Rennie Santoni, music by Sylvester Levy. Obviously starring Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, it's not one of my favourite. It's not up there with like First Blood or Rocky Part 1 or even Demolition Man or Tango and Cash for me, but it's not as bad as some of his films. But yeah, it's enjoyable. But you know, if you're going in expecting an action masterpiece with a lot of depth and you know, it's going to change the world of cinema, then it's probably an it. But as far as kind of, it delivers on the action, it delivers on the dialogue, the swearing, the violence. Stallone really cool as Cobra. Basically, they're like trying to fight some guys who've got hostages, and they're like, well, we're going to have to call in Cobra. Nobody else can. There's like 100 police, but they're like, no, it's 100 police don't amount to this one guy with no bulletproof vest just wearing black coming in to kill everyone. yeah, I won't go on about it too long just because I'm trying to sort of end this video soon, but Stobra in Cologne, sure he wears aftershave. Stallone in Cobra, sure everybody know, not as bad as some people say, but it's a bit cheesy and silly, but that's what I want sometimes from an 80s action film. It's just cheesy, switch your brain off, show me some explosions and gunshots, and I'm happy. So yeah, I give that 7.5 on Cobra. Glad to have it on 4K. I don't think I'd ever even had it on any version. I think it was on the Stallone box set with like 5 or 6 films. Pretty sure Roy's got that. He showed it in the past, Blu-ray movies. But yeah, I'd never owned it. Right, on to probably the nastiest one of the week, and that's saying something over Trouble Every Day, is Freezer on the Tartan Asia Extreme label, or Stuart calls it Tartan Army Extreme. I've never been a fan of Glasgow Rangers, or even Celtic. Walk on the Violent and Nasty side, they're not lying. Yeah, don't think I'd ever seen. Obviously, some of these I've watched 18 years ago. Couldn't really remember them. Obviously, if it's a real standout one, like Audition, Ring, what's it called? Bangkok Dangerous, Hard Boiled, you do remember them forever because they're not just well-made films, but say Audition's got some bits you won't forget. So yeah, I don't think I'd seen this before. Kind of lumped it in as not generic, but obviously a lot of these kind of extreme, violent, not always horror, sometimes they're like crime or action films, but so many of these on TAE label kind of never got round to it, but no, it's brutal, it's nasty, it's really well made. It's got really good, is her name Harumi Inoue? Really good. Some just really nasty people in it. Some really intense scenes. Without going into too much what happens, I don't have the time, I don't want to spoil it. It's kind of a grape and revenge film. Yeah, some of the way she kills people, I won't really spoil it. I don't know if you can see there. It's something to do with a freezer. I won't say whether she uses a freezer to kill people or whether she puts them in a freezer after, or whether, actually you can probably tell from the front cover they're laying in freezers. But yeah, as far as these rape revenge films go, I think it's better than I Spit on Your Grave. Really nasty, brutal, but not just gratuitous. It's kind of group of men do something horrible to her, and then she gets revenge, and when she's getting her revenge, you really want her to hurt them as much as possible, make them suffer. So it's not like Hostel where you're like, oh, this is just sick, just trying to shock me. I don't really care about the characters anyway. This is kind of like you're really rooting for. Yeah, I think Miss 45 is coming out soon on Arrow Video in October. Thinking it's probably along the same lines as this. But yeah, for me, I Spit on Your Grave isn't a great film. I've never been a massive fan of Last House on the Left. But as far as these revenge films, probably one of the better ones I've seen. And yeah, I won't talk about it too long, but really does go there. If you're into your Japanese extreme kind of film, yeah, I won't really even say it's a horror. It's more of like a crime revenge. But yeah, it's got some strong stuff going on. Quite like nasty dialogue with like sexual content and things. But yeah, I'd say it's quite disturbing. And yeah, probably more intense than Trouble Every Day. Yeah, one of the nastiest ones I've seen on the Tartan Asia label. Some of them, you know, if it's a ghost girl just killing some random people, I don't care. Whereas when it's this woman getting victimised by a bunch of men, and then even after it's happened, they're coming back into her life, and then they've got photos of her they're using to blackmail her. Yeah, you kind of do get behind the character. You feel empathy for her, and then when she gets her revenge, you're really rooting for her. Then last watch, I won't talk about this too long, because again, I should have balanced this out better, rather than talk about Shrunken Heads for 5 minutes, which probably didn't deserve it. I should have spoke about each for, say, 2 minutes, but as people know, I'm not very good at timekeeping or planning or doing anything other than rambling on videos. But Dorothy? Yeah, heard of this, didn't really know too much about it. The main girl in it looks really creepy. Evil Chose Her, directed by Agnes Murley. So even though it's set in an island off the coast of Northern Ireland, it doesn't really say where. I think it's a French production. Obviously, the actors, I think they're British. Gary Lewis, really good in this. What else has he been in? I've seen something recently. I don't know if you can see him on the back there. It's like past the guy without much hair. He was brilliant in something I've seen recently. I think he's Scottish, but he's doing an Irish accent. Carice Van Houten, Valkyrie and Black Book. I think she's like Dutch, but does a good... Well, no, actually, she's got a British accent. She's gone to visit the island. She's really good in this. Really balances like the emotional parts well. It is a horror. Can't really say too much without giving it away, but where it says the modern day Exorcist, goes along like she's possessed, but there's a bit more of a twist, a bit more of a payoff, a bit more going on. I will say, if you're not a fan of supernatural films, it kind of is supernatural, but it's a bit more ambiguous. Yeah, this girl genuinely looks creepy as Dorothy. The scenes when she's just staring at the camera was unnerving me. And like, even though she's meant to be like a young girl or something, I would still be scared if I walked past her in a dark alleyway. Yeah, Gary Lewis in it. Kind of French production. Contains strong language and sex references, moderate gore, and a grape scene. I think I read that out the other day. But yeah, good acting, good location, well directed. Yeah, better kind of film than it should be. I did say, would it just fall into this sort of generic blanket of possession / demonic kind of films? The Omen, he's not possessed, he's born as the Antichrist, but still demonic. But no, it's got a bit more to it than that. I'm not saying it's on the level of like The Exorcist or The Omen, but it's better than some of these supernatural fare. It never feels B-movie, it's never cheesy. Halfway through, doesn't get bad, but the story, I wouldn't say goes off the tracks, but it went in a bit of a way that didn't quite lose me. But the opening half, when you're sort of trying to, investigating what's going on, is good, and then the last sort of 15 minutes at the ending picks up again. But yeah, I wouldn't say it falls off in the middle, but loses a few points where, yeah, it gets a bit convoluted, I guess I would say. All the locations look really good, not just on the island in Ireland where it's raining. That was a limerick, but also the houses and that when they're inside just look so like dated and nasty and no carpets. And yeah, for me, location makes the film a lot of the time. Quite good creepy music, but yeah, genuinely creepy. Not one of the scariest films I've seen, but yeah, there was a few moments were quite tense, and I watched this last night in the early hours of the morning when it was dark, and yeah, it did kind of get under my skin quite a bit. So yeah, quite impressed with that. If you haven't seen Dorothy and you're into these kind of films, I think it's one of the better ones. Yeah, I'd give that a 7 out of 10. So yeah, I don't think I've really watched anything lower than a 7 out of 10 this week. Obviously, I do usually try and choose films I've either seen and it's a rewatch and I know I'm going to like it, or, films I buy because there's a reason. If I hear something's really not to my taste, then I'm not going to pick it up and expect to like it. Whereas, yeah, if I was to pick up a film by Ridley Scott that's got 9 out of 10 on IMDb, then it's likely I'm going to like it. So yeah, I kind of have gone for ones that I thought I would enjoy. But yeah, with Dorothy, Trouble Every Day, Leave It a Scene All the Time, they could have been stinkers and none of them were. So yeah, quite a good 10 days of watches. Right, this has gone on longer than I hoped, so sorry everybody, but I did have 11 films to rank, so it wasn't too bad for me, taking 5 minutes on each film probably. Yeah, I guess I'll be back with another recent watches. Might not be as long as a week if I can get quite a few done this weekend whilst I'm still off. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll try and link people down below. Have a good rest of your weekend. Thank you, bye.